Welcome back to Duel of the Debates, where we're going to fight to the death.
And we're going to do closing arguments this time.
Closing arguments this time, yeah. Because
The last time I totally forgot about closing arguments. But you know what? I think that was a clear set winner anyway. So it's fine. I don't think the closing arguments would have made a difference there.
I don't know about that one, but
That's just my personal
It's debatable.
opinion. That's my personal
Oh, it's definitely debatable. I see what you did there. Hey.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before we get into it, I just want to... Last week, technically, I didn't clarify. We actually changed the winner from the non-traditional Christmas episode because Dan over here made it very confusing, and Gavin made it even more confusing, where he said... So Dan's like, okay, so PK, you're the debate winner. Paul, you're the debate winner, but I won.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because of the movie, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it was a very confusing episode.
And then Gavin's like, yeah, I like Die Hard too. So, but then we were thinking like, okay, well, it's Duel of the Debates.
Who's we?
I was thinking it's Duel of the Debates. The debate winner should win the debate,
Which
right?
It makes sense.
sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
Right. So,
Anyway.
So Paul won.
There's
Okay.
a clarification for that episode two episodes ago. All right.
so
Let's
it was like 3
introduce
weeks at this
our
point.
fighters again. Mayor Francis, Sydney, you guys are back for round 2. This time, we have Best MCU Movie. Let's get to it. All right. Let's introduce our movies, I guess, MCU movies. Let's start with Danny. What do you got for us? Best MCU movie.
I picked the best one, Infinity War.
All right. Sydney.
I picked Captain America: Civil War.
Shake your head.
Head. Mary Francis.
I picked Black Panther.
Determines what happens to the rest of the world.
All right. A very good crop of movies here. Let's get right to it. Danny, you are on the clock for your opening statements.
Okay. It's the most ambitious crossover movie ever, and it stuck the landing. It's one of the only movies in the MCU to end on such a devastating and real note. It was a great, refreshing take on the superhero movie. It balanced everything almost perfectly and gave each character their shining moment. It made the villain the main character, which is unheard of in the traditional superhero arena. From the very beginning, it just goes. We're in the action, and it doesn't let up until the very end of the movie. The snap is iconic now. It's part of our American vocabulary at this point. There's an incredible crowd-pleasing moments like Thor's entrance at the end, Steve's entrance, the Iron Spider armor, Ibambe, Stephen T'Challa race to the battlefield. It's hilarious, but also balanced well for the incredibly serious tone that they play.
Okay. Thank you.
Wait, so Cameron, are you doing those sound effects? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Well, there's a little sound effect at the end of the timer that will.
Oh,
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that.
I like the sound.
I also
Nice
enjoy that.
All right. Sydney, you're on the clock when you're ready.
Captain America: Civil War is the best and most pivotal MCU film. It reshapes the whole universe, both narratively and emotionally, by blending personal stakes with global consequences. It introduces a philosophically complex conflict that fractures the Avengers and builds the foundation for the high-stake events that occur in Infinity War and Endgame. The film's emotionally charged story, iconic action sequence, and introduction of key characters such as Black Panther and Spider-Man solidify the film's legacy as a cornerstone in the MCU. It's more than just a superhero movie. It's a political thriller, emotional drama, and action-packed blockbuster all rolled into one. Its complex themes and moral dilemmas shape the MCU as we know it, and also spark the biggest debate among fans: Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
Damn.
All right.
Like the guy that carried. Damn.
Mary Francis.
Okay,
Whenever
so
you're ready. You're on the
I'm
clock.
ready to go. So Black Panther. First of all, this movie was historic.
It was highly anticipated. I can still remember, when that movie came out, where I was making sure I got to see it as soon as it came out, and it had everything that a lot of fans were waiting for. You had Chadwick Boseman, who did an outstanding job as T'Challa. It had action, it had romance, it had Michael B. Jordan, who did an awesome Killmonger, I have to say. You had a little bit of everything. It was historic. It made you think a lot about the structures of society, which kind of played into a lot of the issues that we're facing today. And it was an iconic movie. It was the first all-black cast for a superhero movie, which is kind of like leading the way for a lot of superhero movies today. And it was just something influential.
Good timing. Good timing. All right, time for rebuttals. Danny, you're on the clock.
Okay. There's only 2 scenes in Civil War anybody cares about is the airport fight and the 2-on-1 fight at the end. They go through the whole movie leading up to the eventual breakup of the Avengers, just for Steve to be like, never mind, we're cool, Tony. It's totally cool. I'm sorry, sorry about your mom and whatever. There's such a scaled down and ridiculously bland version of the actual storyline where my movie actually made the comic book storyline, it refined it and it made it better. It's like coal into diamond. They show Spider-Man for 5 seconds and he gets sidelined. It doesn't balance the characters as well as I think it should have. For Black Panther, it's just a run-of-the-mill Marvel movie for me. The highlight of when I saw that movie was an artist that I like introduced a new album and I was jamming out to on the way home. Like oh wow, this is nice. It's important, no doubt, but it's nowhere near the best MCU movie. T'Challa is also kind of a sort of bland character.
Sydney, you're on the clock.
While Infinity War delivers an epic universe-spanning story with high stakes and incredible action sequences, it ends up sacrificing character development and emotional depth to hold on to these elements. The film's ensemble cast leaves limited room to explore individual arcs, relying on prior movies for emotional weight rather than creating new, intimate moments itself. The rapid pacing also makes the movie feel fragmented and sidelines many key characters, especially ones who were vital to the original Avengers. While Black Panther excels at world building and cultural significance, its narrative structure follows a traditional superhero formula that leaves the film incredibly predictable and with a simple resolution that lacks the emotional depth of the other MCU films.
All right, short and sweet.
You
Love
just
it.
keep ending.
Love it.
Ending so early.
Well, hey, no, she says all she needs to say. Yeah.
Good.
Good. All right. Mary Frances, you're on the clock.
Okay, so where do I even begin with Civil War? I feel like Civil War was one of the most boring Marvel movies that I've seen in a while, mostly because it's just a lot of back and forth arguing. It reminded me of your friend group, having a fight. And I'm just like, okay, what are we doing here? There's no depth to it. And I agree, when I think back to that movie, it's just the airport scene. Where was the action that we normally expect from a superhero movie? It was just bland dialogue and not enough action, not enough fighting. And I don't tune in to Marvel movies to just watch some best friends get into a fight.
What about for Infinity War?
For Infinity War, I still have time. But for Infinity War, yes, it was action-packed and it was exciting, but...
Thank you. It was action-packed and exciting. Thank you.
Oh, boy.
but
All right, we'll save the butts for
you guys got to just stay tuned for that.
We'll stay tuned. No, stay tuned right now
Right
because
now,
we're getting
we're
into the
going right
free-for-all
in.
section. So, Mary Frances, why don't you start it off?
But what I was going to finish saying is that, yes, it's exciting, but...
You can't think of anything, can you?
No, I definitely can think of some things like
I can think of
they
a couple
had
things.
some they had our favorite characters in All Out War that was very complex, very entertaining at times. But
You're just saying positive things.
I know,
Like,
because-
you're just-
Okay.
let me just say
It was a really good
It was
movie.
something that could have been better.
Help her out, Sid.
With the plot lines getting pushed to the forefront, other characters are cheated out of meaningful arcs.
Right.
Captain America and Black Widow have minimal screen time and development. Infinity War prioritizes the newer and secondary characters over core Avengers. Civil War has more of a balance. Also, the villain. Though framed as philosophical, his motivations are flawed. His solution ignores sustainable alternatives such as improving resource distribution. Humanizing Thanos is also problematic as it builds sympathy for a mass murderer. And I can say that they try to build as much sympathy for him in this movie as they possibly can. Also, the movie sacrifices depth for spectacle. With the amount of characters shown, many important heroes are underutilized and reduced to cameos. Civil War not only puts a decent focus on characters, but also introduces many of them and their individual powers. Also, if one is unused to the MCU, this movie will feel overstuffed and overwhelming. By this movie, I mean Infinity War. The introduction to many of these characters and plot lines really begins during Civil War.
So the thing is, but Infinity War follows up on like the kind of setup of Civil War, like, and they also Civil War kind of tries to backtrack right at the
Civil
very
War
last
builds
second.
a foundation for this movie. Infinity War wouldn't be able to exist without Civil War.
Technically, but Infinity War follows up and proves like this is what we were leading to. Like it had a lot more riding on it, and it actually stuck the landing way better than Civil War did.
Not only does Civil War build a foundation, but without Black Panther, without that movie, they wouldn't have been able to use Wakanda as the
That's
final
right.
battleground in that movie. And the Wakandans helped a lot.
Well, that's how narrative
did.
storytelling works. You say we're going to go here, and then you go.
I'm just
there.
saying that
What-
your movie relies on a lot of other movies, and that doesn't necessarily make a good movie. While also Black Panther
But
relies on Civil War very heavily because
Civil War
little
relies on
bit.
everything else too. But the whole reason
A
that
little
Civil
bit.
War is even interesting is because you have Steve and Tony on completely separate wavelengths for the first couple movies, and then you see through their individual movies that they transition
Right.
But
to that
also,
debate.
how this debate happens is really interesting because I think Zemo in the movie is one of the best villains because he isn't a typical MCU villain seeking power. His plan is to simply destroy the Avengers from within, which he succeeds in doing without superhuman abilities. His motivations and methods make him one of the most realistic and effective antagonists. Like, his family was killed, and he has no superhuman abilities. His entire plot is to take the Avengers down from the inside, which is crazy because no other movie had tried to do that before.
But I also would argue that Civil War is just pretty much just like a bridge. It's a transition movie that's getting us from one place to another. And I think
But
it's hard.
without the transition, you guys wouldn't have movies,
I think
especially
it's hard
with
to-
the king, T'Challa's dad dies in Civil
No,
War.
oh,
Without
for
that
sure.
plot point, we wouldn't even have Black
For sure.
Panther.
But I think it's hard to argue that a bridge movie is the best Marvel movie of all time.
I think that it sets it up, and I think a setup is very important. And I think
Important.
that
Okay,
it
so-
brings
Important,
out a
but-
lot of other plot lines too.
Not unique, right? So that's what makes Black Panther interesting because it's unique. It's the first of its kind in that type of look. And Ryan Coogler made it completely different than some of the other Marvel movies. The action sequences, the CGI was awesome. And
Did you say in Black Panther?
yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
it was.
Specifically, the CGI is like the first time that everyone's like, "Oh, maybe these guys are getting overworked."
No
it's so
way.
rushed. Did you see that fight scene at the end in their underground?
Yeah.
That was the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life.
No, it was not.
Well, okay.
In your whole life.
in the MCU, yeah.
I disagree. I disagree.
I like-
That was like
thought it was awesome.
the main point. Like everyone's just like, "Oh, this kind of sucks." With the CGI specifically.
I personally haven't heard that about that movie. Like, honestly, I haven't. Wow. But
That's like half my points.
oh
No, I'm just joking.
no, I thought it was really cool. And again, you need that movie to get to Infinity War and think about how crucial T'Challa was in your movie.
He
That
just
just
had
shows-
like, oh, everybody go come chill at my house real quick. We'll fight this battle over here. That's all he did. Shuri was the
And
one who was really...
provided
Okay,
supplies.
But the Wakandans, they wouldn't they helped so much. They helped draw out that battle. The Avengers
did.
would have been defeated almost immediately without their help.
That's right.
100%.
Right, but it's still in my movie. I
Yeah,
don't, I don't know what your
What?
point... What is your point?
We're saying that without that movie,
We're saying
because
without Black Panther,
Black
there
Panther
would be no Infinity War.
Black Panther had an they were isolated, and they had that policy for hundreds of years. I don't, thousands maybe, I don't know. But
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years. And in that movie is when T'Challa
You're
decides
just
to.
explaining a plot mechanic?
I'm saying
Like,
that
yeah, things
without
need to happen
that.
for other things to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. My movie's the best because it leads to
What?
your movies. That's how this works.
You can't just like, well, mine came first.
But
Like,
It did. It
but
did,
also,
though.
in addition to that, my movie is better just because of the acting, the plot, the character development, the emotions, and
I will say there is one thing that really bothered me, and that was how the female roles were so two-dimensional to me. Wakanda's women are portrayed as strong and powerful, which I loved, but many of them lacked depth.
a few of them died, I think.
a couple of them died.
Like, you have, the tech genius, the loyal warrior, the moral compass, but that's about all they are. Their characters lacked anything else other than that.
Why is your mic keep going out?
What?
I hear her mic keeps going
Maybe that's
out.
I
because
think
I'm like,
Cameron's playing with the levels.
I don't know.
Okay.
I disagree with that point. I think that normally you see women in roles that are strictly, in romance situations, whereas with this, it showed that like women can be highly intelligent. Women can actually be the smartest in the entire MCU
They can,
universe.
but that's about all they are. There's nothing else to
I
there's no
disagree.
personalities that are shown to me, and their entire storylines are based off of their roles in the society, which just isn't relatable at all to me.
Nakia, like she's just the love interest. Like she's just like, I'm here.
and a spy.
She has like one scene. She's like, yeah, I infiltrated. I don't know. I want to talk about more about Okoye because she, Killmonger comes in. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm the new Black Panther.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I'm with you because I honor the traditions of Wakanda, right? And then they have the whole battle.
Loyalty.
Yeah, right. But then the consistency of her character just like kind of just is dropped because I know in the second one she's just like, let's go break a bunch of Wakanda
We're not talking about the
laws.
second one.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's the second one.
All right. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, we're not
You
talking
were,
about the
you were
second
bringing up how Zemo is the best villain in the MCU. If you think about any villain in the MCU, the first two that come to mind are Thanos.
Just because it's
Because
the
he
first
had
one doesn't mean it's the best.
He had an entire movie about him. The whole movie is about him. You're not supposed to empathize with him. You can empathize, you're a little weird. But you can understand him. If you understand his philosophy, but while also not empathizing with, that's the good character. Like it's a tragedy for him, and Thanos will return. Like that's the end line of the little teaser thing.
Yeah, and all of them will return. Like the shock factor of that movie is completely undermined by the knowledge that the deaths in his snap aren't going to be permanent. They're all
Well,
temporary.
if we're not talking about sequels, then we don't know.
Well,
We don't know if
well,
come
they
back.
did. They announced the sequels of Spider-Man and Black Panther, like when Infinity War came out, so everybody knew that the snap was just going to be temporary.
That could have been Miles Morales. That could have been.
No, but it wasn't,
Right,
and we all knew it wasn't. We all knew it wasn't.
I don't know that
We
when
all
I
knew.
was watching that movie sitting in the seat that I was like, oh,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they're really gone forever. I think
The only reason that, obviously Black Panther didn't necessarily work out that way is just because of the actor's unfortunate death.
Who else's movie made an iconic touchstone in American history? Okay, other than Black Panther,
Mary
the snap.
Frances.
Captain America, Team Cap or Team Iron Man. That debate is always brought up when I'm talking about Marvel with other people. It's always Team Cap or Team Iron Man.
It was a meme for like 6 months.
It's
When
still-
was the
it's
Civil
still
War?
brought up
months
to me.
max.
It is
6 months.
still-
May
it is still
4th,
brought up.
2016.
It's brought up very frequently. And I love how the whole Team Cap versus Team Iron Man thing, it's not your normal like good versus evil plot, which you always have in these movies. Like with Thanos, you can say that he has reasons, yes, but also it is good versus evil.
It's pretty
by the end.
clearly pointed out that Tony's wrong.
Well, no, Iron Man
movie.
is
Yeah.
it's accountability versus freedom. It's not good versus evil, and I really like that dynamic that the movie has.
Right, but then they take a very one-note approach to it by Tony just being like, let's lock up everybody. There's no nuance there. It's not as nuanced as it thinks it is. Like,
Well,
it's
they
not
have
as-
to keep the Avengers in check. Like, if you have them running around rampant, killing people and blowing up buildings.
I don't know that they were running.
They can
around
do it, it's
rampant,
fine.
killing people like that. I
Well,
mean,
the movie started with Wanda literally accidentally blowing up a building.
yes, but I think that he kind of took it a little too far with that, with his narrative.
And then Wanda enslaved an entire town of people. And
So you
they killed a
see,
bunch of
we
multiverses.
need the Sokovia Accords because she's a little unhinged.
You
A
think a
little
little-
unhinged, a lot unhinged, actually.
yeah, she's a lot.
a little piece of paper is going to stop Wanda from killing universes.
No, but it builds accountability for the Avengers. It means that the government is trying their best to control them, but they can't always do that. And then this piece of paper basically makes it so that the heroes have to help them if one of them goes rogue,
Okay,
like
but
Wanda did.
The thing is, all right, so Civil War breaks up the Avengers, but if we didn't have Infinity War, we wouldn't see how that plays out.
And
Like,
it plays
because it like with them being like we can't talk to each other. One, it's a great feat of storytelling in general. When you have the two main Avengers, they can't work together as a team, which is like your go-to for an Avengers movie. They have to have two separate plans going on to juggle all of that. Plus, you get the Wakanda fight, you have the Titan fight, you have the Central Park, you have jump to Vormir and stuff. They introduce more world building mechanics and stuff, all while they finish up all these arcs that were started, while also making Thanos the main center point of it. And it just all really works together. It drives home the entire theme of why the Avengers were created in the first place, because Tony says, like, if we can't save the world, we're going to be damn sure we'll avenge it. So
You could argue, though, that movie was too long and too convoluted.
it feels so overstuffed.
Infinity War? No, I
Yeah.
thought it was a tight.
It feels
Yeah,
overstuffed and overwhelming,
It
especially
feels-
for people who are new to the MCU.
disagree.
I think that if you're somebody who's never watched a Marvel movie before and you watch that movie, you're overwhelmed.
Well, interesting, because I have a case study. My parents, who knew nothing about Marvel, I took them, I was like, we got to see this movie, guys. It's so cool. Because I saw this 4 times. It took a bunch of people. They knew nothing about it. And they were like, oh my God, I thought that was very well done.
I would have hated it. I
Oh,
would
you
have
would've
hated
hated
it
it?
so
Well,
much.
That's so easy.
I would have.
I would have hated it.
I would have
Like, I
been.
know I
I,
would've.
think confused because it doesn't do a lot to kind of set up the characters in a way that would make it understandable for somebody who has never seen it before. All of a sudden, we're just kind of starting at this point, and then you're just going to all these different worlds, and it's just also super long. I felt like it got like dragged out a little bit as well.
The fight sequence was way too long, in my opinion.
And you don't think the airport fight went on too long?
The airport fight was so much fun because they were fighting against each other. They were using their powers against each other. I loved the
one
airport
wants to
scene.
see
And
friends
Ant-Man,
fight.
are you kidding me? You see his big form for the first time during that airport fight.
You do? Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
But-
it's criticized for lacking like real stakes.
Yeah.
But this is meant to be the point of no return, showing how far the Avengers are willing to go for
But-
their beliefs, and the emotional
didn't.
stakes are carried more into the fight.
It didn't go into the last, because at the very end of the movie, they're like, Steve's like, it's cool, Tony. Here's my phone number.
Right.
What the fuck?
After
After
all
that-
that. After
Yeah.
all that.
But what are
it
they
just comes
supposed to
down
do?
They could have.
They realize that they're going to have to work together at some, like they know that they have to continue to work together.
Is that not a predictable ending, though? Is that not
How
predictable?
many people
and
died in
Black
Civil
Panthers
War?
isn't.
It's
0
not.
people die in Civil War.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I think.
so
I mean, Black
death
Panther.
means
Did you
nothing.
expect?
Well, except for all those people in that
That-
building.
Death means nothing in movies. Death is actually, I hate it when death is used as like the emotional like end of the film, which Infinity War does. And that bothers me because there are so many other ways to push emotions to other viewers, like breaking up a team.
Right, but then they don't.
But then they just
Because-
get back together.
Because they're still, yeah, they just
Because they
like,
have
it's
to.
cool, it's fine.
Infinity War,
don't have
would
to, though.
the world would have died. Like the snap would have remained if they didn't if they weren't able to just,
Mary Frances, check your
throw
phone.
away their differences.
Are you giving her notes?
Nope.
I'm going to say this right now. Just backing up just a little bit. Infinity War is only 2 minutes longer than Civil War.
Wait, Infinity War?
I never argued that it was too long.
Yeah. It's overstuffed.
It is over. No, it's
gonna
over.
rewind
It's
yeah.
overstuffed,
Yeah,
as
wait,
in
wait.
like the multiple plot points, the multiple point of views that are going on. That's what I'm arguing.
Sounds like Civil War is also dragged
It
out.
sounds like Civil War sucks, right?
No,
Anyway,
Civil
we haven't
War is
talked
good.
at all
It's the
about-
most pivotal.
We haven't talked at all about Black Panther, though.
Because we haven't
While-
talked about it because there's nothing to
While
talk
Michael
about.
B.
Because
Jordan's
it's so forgettable, right?
while Michael B. Jordan's motivations are compelling, his methods, advocating for global violence and domination,
Okay, so everything you're-
undermine his credibility.
Everything you're saying
As
is
a
everything you
sympathetic
could say
villain.
about Thanos.
It undermines his credibility as a
Never mind,
sympathetic
take back.
villain.
Anyway, Thanos is cool.
Like I just what
They teased Claw.
Well, I was going to say
he's
that
a villain,
Killmonger becomes more of a symbol of militant ideologies rather than an ethical character because he's
that's
supposed to
ethical?
be
He's
an
not
ethical character.
Yeah,
He's the villain.
tragic-
a villain. I don't think
The
he's supposed to be
tragic
ethical.
backstory too. His tragic backstory is overused and overdone in the MCU.
When have they used that before?
Well, they didn't
A
what if.
tragic backstory.
No, but the depth of the twist that, oh my gosh, like you actually could be an heir to this throne and you could take down everything that they've been working on.
Maybe they haven't used that in the MCU, but it's been overdone
Yeah,
in many other films.
Yeah, we're talking about the MCU though.
So if you want to talk about the debate between Cap and Iron Man, I think Black Panther does it a little better. Or the whole idea of because it's like,
How?
do we be more militant? Like, should we? Well, actually, it's not even militant. He just wants to just open up trade.
Which
Right.
I wish that there was
And
more.
the interesting thing, T'Challa actually takes that lesson from Killmonger. He's like, hey, this is cool.
Well, I
We
think
should open up.
I think that in the movie though it was lacking a bit with there should have been because colonialism and oppression are obviously themes of the film even though they're not directly addressed.
I think
But it's not directly necessarily said. That's what I mean. It's present in the film, but it's not directly said. But Wakanda's isolationist policy is treated as wrong without fully exploring its history, its historical rationale, or the complexities of global intervention. The film's ending leaves more questions. What does Wakanda's outreach look like, and how do they avoid exploitation?
I think that's the whole point of the film is I think that was explained throughout the film in the sense that they're saying that's the whole reason why they've been in hiding.
Yeah,
is-
but I
is-
want to know the historical context behind this because there has to be something.
Well, they never took a chance to do that.
Right. Which is why
Which, if this has been working for so long, why at the end of the film do they decide to help others? Because I think that I don't agree
that's
with
the whole plot though.
I don't agree with them.
That's
help. I
that's-
don't agree with it though. I think that it was a bad ending because
Because you don't like you don't like the solution they came to.
Yeah,
but
I didn't like the solution they came to.
Has nothing to
bad.
do with the depth and the excellence of the film. I mean, if you look at, you can look at the societal issues of today, and you can actually see that in a Marvel film, which I think made it so historic in the sense that you were bringing in people who had never watched a superhero movie before, and all of a sudden you have little kids who are like, "I want to be T'Challa," and had their whole minds opened to a new movie and made people think a little bit more about societal structures too, which I think shows that. Some people go into a movie just expecting action and fighting, and then you're like, "Huh, I left with a bigger perspective about the world," which I think is interesting.
True, but
it's-
one
it's-
film isn't going to automatically fix all of that too.
Oh, I don't think anybody thinks Black Panther's
yeah,
gonna fix
yeah.
at all.
The thing about Ryan Coogler movies, and I just feel this. It's just they never feel complete to me. They never just get to the finish line. It's like they get to third base. It just never gets to home base. You know what I mean? It's almost there, and it's almost good, but I just can't. It just doesn't feel good. They teased Claw in Age of Ultron. They're like, okay, we're gonna totally use this guy in the next movie, and then they he's the main antagonist in the comics to Black Panther, and then they kill him off for Killmonger. They don't even like sideline him and be like, "We'll get to you next time." They're just like, "Fuck this," you know. They introduce what's his name, Ross, the Agent Ross.
Yeah.
Like he's just useless. Like why is he there? It's like they focus and also T'Challa's just really kind of a bland character. I can't really think of. He's just kind of the stoic, like I need to be the king, and like I'm sorry, Dad. It's like Simba, but like which is worse, more like. And you know the only charisma here is Michael B. Jordan, and even then his acting in a couple scenes is like he's weird. He's like, "Hey, cousin," like that was like a weird line delivery. Like you didn't want to redo
Hey,
that, Michael.
the whole like, hey, auntie, that thing.
Yeah, like but I'm just like, it just felt like stilted. I don't know. And nobody remembers the actual movie. They just remember they remember the shitty fight
Sorry.
scene at the end. Oh.
Drop your pen.
I think they just remember the shitty fight scene at the end with the bad CGI, a rhino, and maybe the Korea fight. I don't know.
Which was well done.
I like the trailer better than the actual movie. I thought that was a very well done trailer. So if that's what we're arguing, then that would win.
Too
But like,
bad this isn't about the trailer.
well, you know what?
Yeah.
In Civil, all right. In
No, it's not.
in
This
Infinity
episode,
War,
too bad that's not the trailer.
Yeah.
Too bad that's not the
in
whole.
Infinity War, when you think of a battle in Wakanda, you think of Infinity War's Wakanda battle first because it has a great build up with the Ibambe and they're doing the thing. That was ad lib too, by
so
the way.
they think of the last thing in the movie first.
Wasn't the last thing in the movie. It was about halfway
I
in the
did
movie.
not
the
know
battle
that was
started.
ad-lib.
It was close to the end.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, I guess
I
that was
actually
like
love that.
was Winston Duke's like kind of acting like let's get everybody, you know how like
Yeah, yeah,
Matthew
yeah.
McConaughey's like that's his acting.
Get 'em
exercise.
pumped.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, get them hyped up.
Yeah,
I love it.
And then like, what if it's fucking
Right, right,
awesome,
right.
so cool.
Yeah, awesome because we love the Wakandans and we love the fight scenes. It's just like
In
the
Infinity
Black
War,
Panther.
yes, we do. We love the Wakandans in Infinity War, because it's the better movie. But you know, it just has. There's the whole movie. You can point out like this is a cool moment. This is a cool moment. This is a cool moment. In Black Panther, I really can't think of anything that's like that tops anything in there. And in Civil War, you can only point to two scenes, and Tony Stank.
Okay, but those scenes are some of the most iconic things, and again, sparked one of the largest debates ever in Marvel. I've gotten into 2-hour-long debates about Team Cap versus Team Iron Man. Like I know that I feel very strongly about one side.
Would you feel in those debates that you had with people, was it one-sided or was it kind of split?
It was always kind of split because I also have a very unpopular opinion.
Well, also because
my gosh.
it comes down to it relates to more real world politics.
Yeah.
It's
systems.
relatable.
But they make a clear stance towards the end. They clearly say Tony's wrong.
Right.
And Cap, because it's Cap's movie, you know.
All right.
It's pretending to be an Avengers movie, and it's
All
a
right.
Cap
I think it's
movie.
time for closing arguments, guys.
We're actually
All right,
doing
we're gonna
those.
do that
We're doing
now.
those.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are. I'm not forgetting that this time. Okay, let's start with Danny. Closing arguments.
Fuck. Okay, Infinity War is just overall the best one. It brought together everybody. It was it had everything riding on it. Everyone was like, this is the most ambitious movie in the MCU, maybe in like the decade. And it stuck the landing. I don't know anybody who doesn't like this movie. When we ranked our episode, or we did our MCU rankings for Movie Drunks forever ago, everybody put Infinity War at the top. You know, the snap is iconic now. It created a cultural touchstone with a simple action. Civil War, you know, it just seems messy. It's a boiled down version of everything that it could have been. I don't care if they have like a little splash page of, you know, from the comic. And Black Panther, you know, while it's important, I don't remember anything about it other than Killmonger. And, you know, and the only reason, like, I think it was just successful just because Infinity War was leading up to Infinity War.
Okay, Sydney, you're on the clock.
Captain America Civil War masterfully intertwines personal stakes with global consequences, reshaping the MCU both narratively and emotionally. Its thought-provoking themes, grounded in moral dilemmas and political undertones, elevate it beyond the traditional superhero genre. The film's iconic airport battle and the introduction of beloved characters like Black Panther and Spider-Man make it an essential piece to the MCU. While Infinity War delivers an epic universe-spanning narrative with intense stakes, its reliance on prior films for emotional depth and rapid pacing sacrifices character development and leaves the story feeling fragmented. Similarly, Black Panther, though groundbreaking in its world building and cultural significance, follows a traditional superhero formula with a predictable resolution, lacking in the complexity and emotional resonance of Civil War. Ultimately, your movies wouldn't exist without mine, too. Oh, that ended right on time. The slash right after that.
All right. Mary Frances, you were on the clock.
Yeah, overall, I think just the cultural phenomenon of Black Panther, it's historic. It raised so much money, first of all, in the box office because everybody wanted to go see it. And also, it was just the character development I thought was really awesome. I thought it was a very creative plot, and it was unique, in my opinion. Civil War was, to me, nothing but a back and forth between friends. It was a movie that was a bridge to other movies, which I think any movie that's just simply a bridge is never something that's going to be really something that people remember. Everybody's just going to think of it as the airport scene and nothing more. And Infinity War was just extra long and just full of a lot of convoluted fight scenes. And yes, it was exciting, but did it have the depth that was needed with these characters?
Yes, the whole 2 minutes longer.
A whole 2 minutes longer.
That Black Panther, though?
Actually, I don't know the runtime of Black Panther. Let me look at
Black Panther is over 2.
Plot twist, it's longer than all.
No, it's not.
214.
Well,
Yeah.
Wakanda Forever is the longest.
That is
MCU
very
movie.
long.
But we're not
Wait,
talking about that.
What?
one.
It is?
It is.
Yeah,
But we're not
I
talking
had
about
no
it's
clue
like
about that.
240
All
or
right.
something like
What?
that.
It has a ridiculous runtime, but it makes sense. Okay.
Hello?
This was interesting. I have a lot of notes here.
Felt like
All right.
actually fighting in this one, I'm not going to lie.
Oh my God.
All right. Let's start with Infinity War. Okay.
Damn it.
I go in the same order, Danny. Doesn't mean you lost.
The first one you mention always loses. Anyway, continue. Say good things about me.
Okay, I'll start with the good.
No, just stop there.
Okay. Yeah, this is what we were leading to the whole time. A whole bunch of different movies, and that was imminent from, I believe, before Civil War. We knew we were getting to Infinity War. It does rely a lot on other movies, which, yeah, that can be a problem. But the character development was kind of fleshed out at that point for certain characters, so it kind of works in that vein. The depth, the devastation, and the payoff is all what makes Infinity War good. Let's see. I do. The sympathy for Thanos thing. Yeah, it's a little better, I think, than I don't know. I don't remember what I was going to say for sympathy for Thanos. I'm going to skip over that for a second.
What, Thanos and Zemo?
Yeah, it was probably between those two. Anyway. Yeah. This is okay. I'll come back to it in a second. All right, Civil War. I liked that Zemo isn't seeking power like every other villain in the MCU. It's about internally fracturing the Avengers. That is a very different way that we've gone forward with certain movies in the MCU. The Sokovia Accords for uncontrolled Avengers. Very good point. It's a topic that's still discussed today. I mean, especially Team Cap, Team Iron Man, and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. It's
Like, yeah, I know.
but it's a watered down version of the comics. And that is a big thing that has had a lot of people complaining about. And people are still asking for like a Civil War 2 because we have more Avengers now going into all that kind of stuff.
Boring Avengers.
And this is a bridge movie. Black Panther. It is a unique and very first of its kind, a very culturally significant movie. Yes, the CGI is bad. I do agree with that. But I do like the whole villain arc with Michael B. Jordan. It's his heir to the throne. It brings up a really interesting point. Should Wakanda be opened up to the world and share all their technology with the world? It does fall under the same superhero formula problem, though, with that said villain. But I think it's a rewatchable movie. Just like Infinity War is also a rewatchable movie.
The most rewatchable.
Civil War, I don't know why, but it's not as rewatchable. I think it's because of the way it was. I honestly don't know what the reason is that it's not as rewatchable, but
They
maybe
don't
it's
follow
'cause it's
through
slower.
with the themes.
But
Because it's a
I
fun
like
movie.
I like what Sydney brought up about Zemo, because I didn't even think about that before, like how he wants to internally fracture the Avengers and make them, just not the Avengers anymore. And the Sokovia Accords are pretty important, even still today in the MCU. They're still important. But Civil War is not going to win. Black Panther is also not going to win.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, while rewatchable, while a very culturally significant movie, it falls too much under the regular superhero formula. But it is also a solid movie. These are all very solid picks, but the clear winner is Infinity War.
Oh, sweet, dude.
That is the longest I've actually had to talk at the end of
Wow.
one of these so far. I had a lot of notes.
I feel like we all had a lot to say.
Yeah, we
No,
did,
like
yeah.
I'm glad that we have a lot to say about Marvel movies. But yeah. Anyway.
Notice how they all came before 2019?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't doing any of the new or the older ones.
Yeah.
No.
What if I did the Incredible Hulk?
Right.
That's obviously the best one.
It's honestly a little better than you remember it being if you haven't watched it recently.
No, I did watch it
I haven't
recently.
watched
It's
it
still
recently.
terrible.
Oh,
I also just love Mark Ruffalo, and that movie does not have him. So
I can't, I can't really get past Liv Tyler's,
Tyler.
shitty, Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're gonna have sex.
All right. Anyway, we're Duel of the Debates. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok with @Duel of the Debates, right? Just Duel of the Debates, Danny? Or is it DOTD?
Well, Cameron, I think there's a little tag we can throw up there.
Yeah, maybe it is. I can't see it, so I wouldn't know.
There it is.
Anyways,
Duel.
that's where we are.
Oh, right. I forgot to turn on your TV. My bad.
Yeah,
so
you
cool.
did. Anyway, but yeah,
Hello.
I'm Dan.
I'm Danny. You can find me on Instagram at Danny_Was, my letterbox and serialized at DJ Was, or my YouTube channel, which is just Danny Was. That's my name.
Would you guys like to plug your social media channels?
you don't want to find me on social media.
You can check me out at Mayfrey16 on Instagram.
All right. Next time on Duel of the Debates, we are probably going to have best animated movie of the 2010s, but
Probably.
stay tuned for news on that one. Until next time, we'll see you next time.